And to give you a rounded perspective on this, I am joined by Akshay Dongre. Good afternoon, Akshay. Second day of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's address at the Parliament, this time in Rajya Sabha, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi apprised the House of the 7 new working groups which have been created and opposed to sectors like defence and others to ensure that India becomes self-reliant, which is not an overnight development, but the past efforts that India has been making, especially in the past 11 years. What more can you tell us about India's ongoing efforts to combat this ongoing challenge? Akshay.
So let's begin with Prime Minister's speech in the upper house of the Parliament first. And, in any kind of crisis, the most important thing that becomes, crucial is an effective communication. And effective communication can mean a lot if it comes directly from the top leadership of a country, of a government. And that's exactly what is being done by Prime Minister Modi. We spoke earlier in the lower house of the Parliament at Lok Sabha, and today at Rajya Sabha, the upper house of the Parliament, addressing the members of Parliament, the state governments, addressing not only the leaders but the people as well, using the stage of the upper house of Parliament to address the entire country about the difficult time the entire world is in. And naturally the impact are being felt in our country as well. India is a large country. India is a large country of a lot of people with trade relations with these countries that are seeing this conflict and the crisis that is emerging out of the conflict. And then it's natural to feel certain impact, be it the economy, be it the trade, or the people who live there, our diaspora that lives in that part of the world, their family members that reside back home. So the ramifications are quite huge as far as this conflict is concerned for the global economy. And naturally, the global economy being in turmoil will impact every economy in the world, including the Indian economy. And steps needs to be taken to ensure that we take learning from this kind of a conflict. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, ever since he came into power in 2014, he has been focusing on Atmanirbhar and self-reliance that perhaps is going to pay the entire nation now in return, given the fact that we are striving towards self-reliance in defense sector, in economy, in trade, manufacturing, in agriculture, as far as basic requirements are concerned, basic supply chains are concerned. They are being developed in India in the last 10 years, for the last 10 years. And in crises like these, when the entire world comes to a standstill, only economies that are going to thrive are going to be the economies that will be largely self-sufficient, that will have large consumer base back at home. So we have to be, but all that said and done, we have to be prepared for the impact that is gonna be felt by our economy, by our people, by our diaspora that lives there, our defense sector, our security infrastructure, and every aspect of the life that we live in. So it's quite important to be prepared for it. Even if we don't see the worst, we have to be prepared for the worst. And that has been the message of Prime Minister Narendra Modi from the upper house of the Parliament.
And Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been time and again reiterating that India has always been prepared, and especially with all the initiatives taken in the past 11 years, and also with the effort to make the defense sector self-reliant and other sectors also self-reliant, and also taking continuous steps. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also urged all the states to come together and act like Team India and work like we did in the past challenges, in the past time as well, especially considering the COVID-19 challenge. And he also mentioned that the nature of the challenge is entirely different this time, but the economic fundamentals of the country are really strong. What sort of message does that send to the entire nation, and especially with a special focus on farmers here once again? Akshay.
Well, if the fundamentals are strong of an economy, that clearly means that while there will be impact seen, but it will not shake the foundation of the economy. It will not, lead to a massive recession type of a situation or an economic depression. All of these things, maybe even if there are certain signs of them, they will be short-lived, because we have to see that a country of 1.45 billion people, the world's largest population, also is the world's largest consumer base. So anything that we manufacture can be consumed internally. So we do not overtly depend on trade. Our manufacturing sector needing to send stuff outside to sell. So even if there is, let's say, a temporary halt in the or disruption in the trade routes or other areas where trade happens, that can be diverted back to the Indian economy and can be consumed by the Indian economy. So the large base remains strong. The fundamentals of economy remain strong. India is still seeing large growth. In fact, the fastest growth among the large economies. So those will be impacted. Obviously, there is war. There will be certain impact felt by the entire world, but the foundations cannot be shaken, given the fact that we have been preparing for these kind of eventualities, be it COVID-19 pandemic that shook the entire world, that brought the entire world to a halt. But the Indian economy thrived from that point onwards as well. So we have to be prepared. We have to be prepared for the worst, hope for the best. However, we have to also be aware that even if we see certain negative signs, be it economy, be it employment opportunities, other areas, they are not going to be long-lived. They are going to be just temporary, ramifications that are being felt because of the conflict that is taking place in West Asia.
All right, thank you, Akshay, for joining us and getting us the latest on this.